be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me.
Let's do it. Come on in. We'll start in like a minute.
Stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky
so much
that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountain should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me, oh, stand by me.
All right. Hi, hello, everyone. It is amazing to see so many of you here. I hope I'm audible and everyone can hear clearly. Someone give me a thumbs up or something in the chat if everything's... Yeah? Okay, great. Yeah, thank you so much. So hello and good evening to everybody. Welcome to a remarkable evening, really. Welcome to Stand By Me. My name is Chithira Vijayakumar. I'm a journalist and a researcher working at the intersection of environmental justice, technology, and gender and sexuality justice. I have to say that Stand By Me is not an initiative like any other that I have ever seen before. First, this is a small collective of survivors of gender-based violence, surrounded by their supporters. And survivors themselves are taking the steps needed to support themselves. And two, they're doing this to continue their fight in a society, in a legal system that is hostile to them at every single step, right? Anytime that you hear somebody speaking out about experiencing sexual abuse or harassment, what is the next immediate question or the next statement? File a case, you know? Why didn't you file a case? Why did it take so long to file a case? But who comes with you to the police station to file a case? Who pays for the auto rickshaw you might take, the bus you might take to go there, right? Who makes you a cup of tea after a whole day in court? Who buys you groceries when you are exhausted and broke? Who pays for your lawyers for the next, not 1 year, next 10 or 15 years, realistically? Who gives you a job when you have to go to court after court after court, appeal after appeal after appeal, dozens of times, every month for years, right? So who stands by you in these times? So the reason that we, the supporters of Stand By Me, have gathered here today, and we're counting all of you in the audience as well as part of this support network today, is from a very simple and very clear understanding that everything that the survivors are doing or have done in this case, which is speaking about their experiences, going to court, refusing to bow down before a society that asks them to bear the shame, right? All of this, everything that they're doing is, yes, of course, it is an incredible act of courage, but it is also an incredible act of generosity. And that generosity is to us, because they are not doing this just for themselves, but they're doing it for each and every single one of us. The horrific process that they're going through has to be understood as an act of love towards the very society that shuns them for being survivors. So all of us here today who are privileged to work alongside this as part of this collective, we recognize that we have a collective responsibility to them, to not just to these survivors, but to all survivors, right? To support their fight in whatever way that we can. And nobody understands this better than the incredible roster of speakers here today with us. Parvathy Thiruvothu, Dhanya Rajendran, Dr. Astrid, Dr. Jean, Dr. Kuchrani, all people who are not only trailblazers in their own fields, but have also gotten down to do the actual, like the unglamorous, thankless work, honestly, of creating justice, all forms of justice in their respective and diverse fields. And who better to open and inaugurate this small initiative than the one and only Parvathy. Parvathy Thiruvothu, we all know, is a pioneering actor, known for her impactful roles in Indian cinema and also for her unwavering commitment to social change. Parvathy's remarkable work has earned her several prestigious awards, including the National Film Award, the Kerala State Film Awards, the Filmfare Awards, all of this, right? Cementing her as really one of the most influential figures in contemporary Indian cinema. And as of all that is not enough, she's also the founding member of the Women in Cinema Collective, the WCC. And she has played a pivotal role in challenging the film industry's norms and sparking a broader conversation about gender justice. But it's important, I think, also to remember that her efforts have shaken not only the film industry, but has inspired reform across multiple sectors. Sometimes it's that tiny butterfly effect. So we're so grateful to have you here today. Parvathy, I'd like to request you to inaugurate Stand By Me and share your thoughts with us. Over to you.
Hi, Chithira. Hi, everyone. It is an absolute honor to be here with all of you, all 34 of us, I feel like right now, and more streaming in. And, but also, the ones I can see right now, Dhanya, I'm very proud to call her a dear friend, but also someone I really look up to with what she's managed to do over decades of her career. Not to make you sound very, very, very senior here, Dhanya, but every single action or every single step taken by her news outlet, News Minute, is one step forward to creating a gender equal space. And they so proudly call themselves a feminist newsroom. So I'm very proud to have collaborated with them previously and also to call them my dear friends. Astrid ma'am, really such an honor to be here with you. Kuchrani Ibrahim ma'am, lovely to meet you here. Meet you, more like it. And Chithira, thank you so much. What a sweet, and truly it just makes you more and more humble when you hear these things. You're almost like the imposter syndrome comes along, and I just want to like bow my head and say that I find myself lucky to be called for this inauguration, although I would not say I'm the one inaugurating this. I think it's all of us holding hands. I personally, right now, I kind of wanted to show you what I'm wearing, because I'm wearing this t-shirt by this homegrown brand called Totem Facts. And they have this, I'm just going to show you guys what it just has this beautiful motive of, two children and a dog. But actually in the back, it is much more powerful. What you can see is many people holding hands and just huddled together in front of a fireplace. And that is the feeling that I've had. I've not felt alone since 2017, since the collective was born. Although the collective was formed in order to support one of our colleagues in her fight for justice. But it immediately started, it was just an immediate realization for us that that is just the tip of the iceberg for us to actually now peel the onion and go through every single layer of what caused us to reach where we are at. What are the things that we need to fix at the very core? And frankly, yeah, there are many things that we have to do policy-wise, discussions, conversations, debates, but it all starts really with this one beginning moment, is that you need to find people who you stand by you, who hold your hand, who hold space for you when you're going through this. So I hereby say that together, holding hands, we have now inaugurated Stand By Me. And in this process, I am equally empowered as anybody else here joining us right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Parvathy, also for sharing that image with us, because I think you're right. That's exactly what it is. It's so many of us huddled around something, around a purpose. And yeah, it might be a long fight, but one, we're not alone, and two, we're not going to give up either. Too bad for people who are on the other side, if they think we are. So yeah, thank you so much, and for joining us today.
Thank you.
Fantastic. I am now going to invite our next speaker for the day, Dr. Astrid. Dr. Astrid Lobo Gajiwala is a feminist theologian, an award-winning writer and activist. A scientist by profession, her pioneering work in tissue banking in India has been featured in the Limca Book of Awards. She's a founding member of feminist collectives engaged in advocacy for gender and human rights, and is featured in Women in Leadership Success Stories from Around the Globe, which is a Global Women Leaders project. So Dr. Astrid, thank you so much for making the time for us. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Chithira. I'm really happy and privileged to be a part of this launch. While we were talking about what are some of the things that we would like to be sharing and talking about today, what came to mind was one of the most compelling stories that is actually in the news right now, and that is of the mass rape of the 72-year-old Gisèle Pelicot in southern France. Her husband, Dominique Pelicot, she's married to him for over 50 years, admitted in November 2020 to drugging his then wife for almost a decade and recruiting dozens of men to rape her in their house. There are 50 other men on trial besides Gisèle's ex-husband. While the rape itself is horrendous, what makes the case remarkable is the grit and determination of the survivor to not just seek justice, but to address the wider implications of her rape. She waived her right to anonymity, which victims of sexual offenses are entitled to in France, and insisted from the start that the court trial be open to the public. By doing this, Gisèle Pelicot hoped to encourage all women who are rape victims to speak up. She wanted them to say to themselves, "Ms. Pelicot did it, so we can do it too." She also wanted to remove the stigma and shame that accompanies rape by throwing the spotlight on the rapists. It's not us who should feel shame, but them, the perpetrator, she said. Of course, like every rape survivor who has spoken up, she too had to go through the additional trauma of disbelief and false allegations. 2 defense lawyers tried to prove that it was not rape, but consensual sex. Even among the 50 defendants, only 14 accepted charges of aggravated rape. The others maintained their innocence, suggesting they believed the acts were consensual, or attributing manipulation to Gisèle's ex-husband. Gisèle dismissed these claims. They must take responsibility for their actions. They raped. Rape is rape, she said. At what point did I give you my consent? She asked the men. Unfortunately, consent is a concept not yet widely understood, and much more education is needed in this regard. According to Indian law, consent is an unequivocal, voluntary, verbal, or non-verbal communication by the women to participate in a specific sexual act. However, the burden of proving that rape took place without the victim's consent beyond a reasonable doubt remains on the victim. The only exception is if the perpetrator is in a position of authority or trust and sexual assault is proven. In that case, the court will proceed with the assumption that the woman did not consent and the punishment is more severe. The relationships where the accused is presumed to be in a position of authority over the complainant are defined by law. Despite introducing an explicit definition of consent, judges often consider many irrelevant factors in determining consent, such as the presence or absence of injuries and aggressive resistance to rape, sexual lifestyle of the victim, post-assault behavior, and even the social profile of the victim. In fact, if the woman is an urban, educated, modern woman who openly expresses her freedom and individuality, it works against her. These factors result in victim blaming and re-traumatization through lengthy trials and humiliating cross-examinations, discouraging other potential victims from reporting the crime. Establishing a standard of consent that removes legal ambiguity, as well as imposing a duty on the accused to undertake steps to seek consent affirmatively, is therefore essential, especially in the case of rape by an acquaintance. However, changes in law are not enough. Also needed is sensitization and training of members of the criminal justice machinery, be they police officers, judicial officers, prosecutors, or even legislators. This is particularly important in a patriarchal society like India, where men are raised with the idea that women are subservient and men's property, and therefore their consent is not needed before initiating sexual contact. Giselle Pellicot's insistence on a public trial was her way of challenging a macho, patriarchal society to change the way it looks at rape and those who experience it. Additionally, she opened the door on tough conversations about rape in relationships and marriages. In India, marital rape is still not criminalized. It is presumed that a married woman gives her consent forever to her husband for an act of sexual intercourse. Giselle Pellicot highlighted another aspect of rape. Hers was not the stereotypical rape that involves a lone, young, attractive female victim being attacked by a male stranger at night in a public place. She is an older survivor, victimized in her own home by her former husband and others she knew. In India, according to the National Crime Records Bureau data, in 2021, in 96.8% of the rape cases, the offenders were known to the victims. The harsh reality is that most cases of gender-based violence occur between people who know each other and within private spaces, often the perpetrator's or victim's home. And too often, under these circumstances, consent is presumed. Because the rape is non-stereotypical, survivors are less likely to seek support following their victimization. They are afraid of being disbelieved. When they do speak up, they're often discounted and experience shame, guilt, and victim blaming. That's why it's so important to treat all survivors with belief and respect, even if they do not fit your idea of what rape or sexual assault victims should be. And finally, a word about the aftermath of rape. Fighting for justice is one fight. The other is the fight for one's sanity. Giselle Pellicot puts it starkly. I don't know how I'm going to rebuild myself, how I'm going to get over all this. Fortunately, I have the support of a psychiatrist, but it will take many more years. As victims of gender-based sexual violence and their supporters know, rape goes far beyond any physical injuries. The trauma of being raped or sexually assaulted can be emotionally, psychologically, and in some cases, spiritually shattering when spiritual gurus and priests are abusers. Many rape survivors struggle with post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and depression. Some blame themselves for what happened or believe that they are dirty or damaged goods. The betrayal of trust when the accused is a known person is hard to come to terms with. The world doesn't feel like a safe place anymore. Relationships feel dangerous, intimacy impossible. It seems like life can never be normal again. Stand By Me is an initiative to support and sustain survivors of abuse over the long haul while they fight their battles in court and struggle to get their lives back on track. Supporting this venture will not only help these women to survive with dignity, but will also help to continue the conversations around gender-based sexual violence so that more victims will access the support they need and their experience of reporting rape will be a positive and enabling one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Astrid, for that stark reminder of some of the most some of the cases that are going on in the world right now. And anyone who's following the Pellicott case knows that the accused, they're all ordinary people. They are fathers, they're brothers, they're people with families. They're not, you know how studies show that survivors, 90% of rape survivors know their attackers. They're not strangers who are waiting in a darkened alleyway, right? So I think this is also important to remember. The way we are taught to think about sexual violence is so different from the reality of it. So thank you again, Dr. Astrid, for this. I'm really excited to know that Parvathy would like to speak more to us now that she's joined us in launching Stand By Me. So I'd like to invite her back to share a few more of her thoughts.
Thank you, Chithira. Thank you, Dr. Astrid. Like, what a great and disturbing case that you shared with us, the details of which we must not forget. I remember reading about it and not being able to bring my jaw back up. I could not. Like, I had to read it again and again and again to believe. I think somewhere deep down, I still cannot get myself to believe that this is something that a woman had to go through, barring whatever a person's age is, whoever did this crime to them. The fact that a woman's autonomy, a woman's agency being ripped away is such a norm across the world. But again, to come to my point, to draw from what you mentioned as part of what Ms. Pellicott said, is that shame must switch sides is one of the biggest, I think it has gotten tattooed in my heart, is that shame must switch sides. And it has been only 7 years or so of being part of the collective. And everything that I thought I knew about feminism changed over this last 7 to 8 years of being together with the women who are trying to change the system as it is. One of the main aspects is the internalized shame that women have about their own situation, whether they have gone through something, or the way they perceive when another woman opens up about what they have gone through. This happens to be one of the main issues, not as much as the legal issues that one has to go through after facing a sexual assault, or let's say the lack of justice therein, like after years of following up in the courts and struggling for survival. One of the things that I personally feel the most shocked at, and this might be just me, but I just wanted to share, is that I always feel more affected when a woman disbelieves me than when a man does. For some reason, when a woman points a finger at me saying, I don't believe you, something in me, there's an inner child in me that gets a lot more affected and hurt. Because I think somewhere I expect men to not believe. I have lived with that. I have known how to manage that. I have known how to live with it. And I'm not reliant on them believing me. So, and I've also noticed in the last 7 to 8 years what it has done, even when the legal system might have failed, what it has meant for women who've come up to me or fellow members of the collective or to any of us and have spoken. And the first thing we do is that we believe what you say. That's the first step in it. And only after that can you start building any amount of self-esteem. It's important to cover and investigate the story. It's important for the shame to shift sides. So to be able to come forward and speak, there are so many of us who are unable to come forward and speak because we don't have the financial backing for the same. So, there are times when I feel in the whole, all of the worlds that we see in different working industries that we see, there is a lot of resource pooling that happens when there is a particular issue that the industry is facing. And I feel like us as women have not had resource pooling enough to be able to stand on our feet, to go forward with cases and to demand the justice we deserve. Because even before the collective, I felt that we're all isolated islands just sort of floating away from each other, because what the patriarchy has done is create such distance and us not being able to reach each other and ask, what did you do when you went through this? Or what do you think I can do? What do you think? Because even now, so many of the girls that I speak to, when they face this, it's either flight or freeze, not fight. It's the mode they go into is complete freeze and shut down. And topping that would be, self-deprecating thoughts and, bringing oneself down, which is hardly a surprise that would happen. Or it's flight. It's to shut down entire system and leave, start anew somewhere else. Even then, the onus falls on the women. So something like Stand By Me coming is so important, is because it's, I love that song. And I feel like that's such a beautiful song to have played in the beginning. I wanna throw this amongst us to remember that when anybody goes through an assault, when they are being wronged to whatever degree, we do not need to measure the degree there. They have every right to demand help, demand resources. I feel like even there, women especially are asked to shrink. Like, oh, am I asking for too much? No, you have now the right to doubly expand yourself and reach out and say, can you help with this part of it? Can you help? I personally have had the privilege to do that, because I have found friends and I've found allies who have offered their help and their time and their space and their resources and connects and contacts, that when someone else now reaches out to me, I know exactly what network. So this network that is going to be built by doing this is going to be the difference between life and death. And I feel that community building is something we need to really invest in going forward. Something tells me, in the state of affairs in the world, war on women has always been the case. No matter what political fight is going on, what other issues are going on, the collateral damage always are women, children at the very, forefront of it. If we don't realize that the war on women is real, then we might always be on the receiving end of getting hurt. So the network that we are building is out of compassion, out of empathy, but also to educate each other that you can demand your space, you can demand a livelihood, That is, to underline that and to emphasize on that, is that you demanding a livelihood based on your skill set has nothing to do with your fight to get justice when you were the one who was wronged. This seems like such a simple theoretical concept, but it is so hard to implement, because I personally know that I myself, in moments of despair, I have felt like maybe I should shrink, maybe I cannot go on and ask. And I'm still unlearning within myself that, no, you know what, you have trained yourself as an artist, you have every right to exist, you have your own validation to go by. But I get to be here because of the books I had the privilege to read, because of the friends I have witnessed do that in their life. And now I get to be in this privileged position to inaugurate this this togetherness that is Stand By Me. And I hope that each and every one of us, that then now I hope you don't get to encounter, but you meet anybody who has gone through this stuff. One of the things that we can do, apart from holding space and listening, is to ensure that they are now educated with what they require, connect them, use our resources, pool it together, and make this huge, like nuclear level, powerful networking resource pooling that will then save God knows how many of us. So I hope Stand By Me, apart from underlining the importance of obviously sustaining oneself through this, through the fights going forward, is also going to be the beginning of a community building where resource pooling becomes one of our strongest weapons in this war against us. That's thank you.
Thank you so much, Parvathy. Yeah, absolutely. The whole intention behind this is that this is the spark, this is the first spark, and where it's going to go in the next few years, we're all really thrilled about the possibilities. And something that you said earlier about how we have to stop being little islands and start coming together and learn to resource ourselves better, because there's no point in waiting for this very same society that created this system to come. Maybe they will come, but we don't have to wait for it. So the skill set of learning to resource ourselves and our movements, most importantly, I think that's really where we can all learn from each other. So thank you again so much, Parvathy, for this, for joining, for sharing so powerfully from the heart, from your own experiences, for really hacking down the weeds on the path that you are blazing in your own field. So thanks again. Right. So let us now invite our next, this honestly, moderating the session is really challenging because I have to introduce people who need absolutely no introduction, but I have to keep doing it. But yeah, our next speaker is Dhanya Rajendran. Dhanya Rajendran, of course, is the co-founder and the editor-in-chief of The News Minute, a digital publication that covers South India, as we all know. Dhanya was a recipient of the Chameli Devi Jain Award for Best Woman Journalist of India in 2022 and Best Journalist Award by Reading. She is the chairperson of DigiPub as well, India's largest association of digital news outlets, and of course has lived everyday experience of what it is to run a feminist newsroom in India. Right. So over to you, Dhanya.
Thank you, Chithira. Before I don't have much to speak, but before I start, I just want to thank Parvathy. When in the Stand By Me group, I was asked to check if there's a guest who would come. I did not think twice. I asked Parvathy, and though she knew that it will be a small gathering, it won't be too many people, she immediately agreed. She had only a small condition, that she was abroad somewhere, so she had to come back and recover from her jet lag and then be herself and then come for the event. So thank you very much. It is that kind of solidarity that really helps people all across. So for me, as a journalist, I have often, I would say on a daily basis, we cover cases of sexual violence. It's of various degrees, right? It's sexual abuse, harassment, or rape. And every time we cover, we say that in India, the process is the punishment. Now, when we say process, we often restrict ourselves to three things. One is the difficulty it takes for a survivor to simply file a police complaint, because even that is not an easy process in India, and it's many times not even a friendly process. I can recount so many examples when I've got calls from people standing in police stations saying that the police is not taking their complaint. The police wants them to come back the next day. And especially these calls come from people who are from marginalized communities, who are from sexual minorities. And every time we have to call up the the cops who are in charge and say, please make sure that the subordinates take the complaint. So that's the first step where I feel the process is the punishment. Then comes the investigation process. It can go on for a few months, and it can be pretty tiring because you have to there's an entire process of giving your statement, then there'll be doubts, you'll be taken back to the place where the crime happened. You have to relive all that again. You have to speak to the police, then to the magistrate. So there are different steps involved there. The third, of course, the trial. Now, when the trial happens, most of us, we end up covering what happens in the first phase of the trial, which is the magistrate court, where the case first goes to. And I think even that takes 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. For example, there is this very big case from Kerala itself where a film actor was assaulted, for which the WCC was formed after that case. It happened in 2017. We are talking about the end of 2024, and the trial is still not over. I mean, every 2 months, I check what is happening in the trial. This time, I've been told that it will finish in Jan 2025, and the verdict should be out by February 2025. And I think, imagine it's almost taken 8 years for that trial to come to an end. And that's something we are paying attention to. So even when the magistrate trial is over, the verdict comes, for the survivors, it doesn't end there, right? They then have to go to, either they will go to the High Court if they have not got relief, or the other party goes. Then there's a Supreme Court. So it goes on for 10, 15, 20 years in many cases. And many times the media, which is people like me, the public which stood with them, everybody just forgets it. Not because they want to forget it many times, because they also have to get on with their lives. And like someone like me, we cover important cases maybe once a month, or once in 6 months, a big case comes up. And it becomes very difficult for us also to keep in track. And yes, we do forget and move on. So there are so many survivors who have told me that finally I'm left with my lawyer, and sometimes with my family, because in many cases, the family itself is not supportive of a woman going to the court or going to the police, right? So when we speak of process as punishment, we mainly restrict ourselves to these 3 things. One is going to the police, second is investigation, and third is a trial. But what we often don't speak about is how the survivors can be left alone. Everybody just leaves them, and we don't even ask them what is their mental health, how are they dealing with the things happening around them. And another thing which we never ask, I feel, is what is the financial security that a survivor has. And sometimes it's not just survivor, right? For example, look at the case of the WCC. When they take up one case, it is not just that person who's impacted, but everyone who supports that person is also at the receiving end of that backlash. If one person is a survivor, 5 people who support the survivor are also kept away from the industry. And this is the norm in many industries. You take up a complaint in the textile industry, for example, a worker has complained of sexual harassment. Any woman who supports her is also ostracized from that company. So this happens a lot. So when Stand By Me, there's a small WhatsApp group, actually, I think, which started some time ago, I think more than a year ago. It was, and I still remember the first bag I got. Stand By Me, it was written on that bag. And I used to feel the only time I use a bag actually, and very diligently, is when I go for feeding pets. So I walk around my apartment every day to feed all the animals around. And I used to take that bag, and people used to ask me, from where did you get the Stand By Me bag? I think that was sold in an exhibition 1.5 years ago. It was the first product which I had bought. And now I'm so happy to see how these survivors have, of course, we are not taking their names because there is a reason why we cannot take their names, right? But Stand By Me as a collective has been very, very important. In that WhatsApp group, I know there'll be this random voice note somebody will send asking, how is the weather there? Or is everything all right? That'll be the only note there, right? And I know people of this in that group reach out to the survivors on a daily basis, asking what is happening. It can be very random, small things like, what did you have for food today? Is it raining there today? Are you all coming for this event or that event? And even to keep in touch on a daily basis, the kind of confidence and warmth which it gives the survivors, I think that's very important. And that's what a collective does. Whether it is WCC, whether it is Stand By Me, there's so many collectives, right? And so the 2 things. One, of course, is the fact that Stand By Me tells people, these survivors, that we are with you on a daily basis. That any small thing that you have, maybe we don't have solutions for your problems, but at least we are here to listen to you. You can send an SMS, you can send a voice note. The other day, I got a voice note saying that cushion cover na Dhanya thuni kodthirunnu. Adu edu size ilana thunnundennu paranilla. So I actually forgot that I had given the cushion cover cloth. many months ago, a colleague of mine, Nidhi, had met one of the survivors and she had handed over the cloth, and I completely forgot about it. So the fact that these small things keep us connected, right? And then there's a network of people who help to sell these products, because step 2 is a financial security. Okay, you're keeping in touch with them. You're sending them voice notes. You are calling them on a daily basis, weekly or monthly basis. That I see Anita Cheria here, a friend of mine. I know that she keeps in touch with all these people. She makes sure that they have so much of support. I mean, I don't want to take all names, but I'm just pointing out a few people who work on a daily basis. So like Parvathy, I know the people that they work with in WCC, it is a lot of toll that it takes on them, but she does keep in touch with survivors, not just her. There are so many people there who keep in touch with survivors, asking them what is happening with your case. Do you need help? Do you need a lawyer? So the second part of the story, the first part is, of course, keeping in touch, making sure that they know there is a system which wants to help them. The second is a financial security. Recently, you must have heard of this very big case in Karnataka where a politician was accused of sexually assaulting multiple women. It had become a huge story across India where people were really shocked that something like this can really happen. And a very young politician was accused of these crimes. He's still in jail. A few months after the cases were registered, I realized that these women were actually kept in a safe house by the Karnataka police because they could be intimidated, they could be threatened. And now they've been moved to a hostel. So you're talking about a hostel room where there is one particular case where the mother and the daughter were sexually assaulted. The daughter herself is some 35 years old now. She has 2 children. So in that small room, there is a mother, the husband, the daughter, her 2 kids in a hostel. And more people keep coming in, and they cannot continue to live like that. And the police department is doing whatever it can to keep them in that safe house or that hostel. But how long is that tenable, right? So there have been a lot of discussions whether we as a collective, a few people can come together, pull in some money to see to it that they have some financial security, at least till the trial is over. But I know that in that case, the solidarity will be perhaps till only the trial is over. But here in Stand By Me, I know that solidarity is permanent. So I feel much more happier being a part of this group. And the other thing I also realized recently is that the government is supposed to give compensation and money for people who have complained of sexual assault. There are actually provisions. If there are trials going on, the government should give. So what I want to also say at this outset is that though we as a collective have come together to help victims, to help survivors, we also need to make sure the government is accountable, that the government cannot simply wash its hands off saying that we are providing the prosecution, we'll fight this in court. But if there is financial security, which the government is bound to give, then we have to push for that. And in all cases, we have to push for that. So to everybody who's watching, listening to this in various platforms, the one big way in which you can be part of Stand By Me is a small step. You just have to share the Instagram post when they make T-shirts, they make frocks for children, they make salwar kameezes, or the very famous nightie of Kerala, or the handbags. Just make sure that your friends buy it. Don't look for extreme quality, because this is for, I mean, it's not like the products are bad, and they're very good products, but they're not professional products. These are made by survivors, and the money is meant for survivors. So let's keep that in mind, and let's all do our small bits in spreading the word. Thank you very much, everyone. And very, very glad and proud to be part of the Stand By Me campaign.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dhanya. And for one, the very important reminder that accountability is also part of the work that we need to do. And that's the thing, right? Is that it takes a village. Okay, it takes a village. It takes a lot of us there's emotional support, there's economic support, there's political support, there's support like this, just showing up at a webinar, just seeing how many people are watching. That gives us so much energy to keep going, because it's an everyday process, as you rightly pointed out, Dhanya, and we're very, very grateful that you've continued to be a huge champion of Stand By Me. And yeah, we'll share some of the products. We'll share some photos of the products. I'll also share in the chat box the links to follow Stand By Me on social media and how you can order their WhatsApp channel, everything. I'll also start sharing that so people can take a look. But I really like that story you shared about how something as simple as just carrying that bag when you go to feed like little critters around the house, how that inspires a conversation. And you never know where these conversations will reach. You never know who might need to hear the story. There are definitely days where I would have wanted to meet somebody carrying a bag which says, supporting that I stand by supporters of sexual gendered abuse, right? So you never know who you're going to reach either. So just something as simple as carrying a bag when you step out, a Stand By Me bag could make a huge difference in somebody's life. Definitely in survivor's life, but also we keep this process going. It doesn't just start or end with this collective. It's a long process. So thank you so much, Dhanya, for reminding us of the realities of this. Right. Okay. So now we're going to come to a very, very important part of today's session, which is we have a message from the survivors themselves, and Dr. Jean Ducuna is going to share that message with us and also share her thoughts. Dr. Jean Ducuna has just retired from the UN, where she held senior management and technical positions with UNIFEM and UN Women, her last being senior global advisor on women's international migration and descent. With 35 years of internationally recognized leadership, academic, policy, and practitioner experience on gender equality and women's rights, she continues to write, research, advocate, and provide upstream policy advice to governments and support women's organizations and community-based organizations on gender equality and women's rights. Over to you, Dr. Jean. Dr. Jean, are you there? Okay, maybe Dr. Jean stepped away for a second. Are you there?
Sorry, I have a bit of a technical problem. Can you see me? Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Chithira. This is a very evocative moment for me, mixed with poignancy and celebration, because I, as a member of Stand By Me, bring you a simple but a very profound and potent message from a very small group of its members who are survivors of violence. This is a poignant moment because I am reminded of the fact that 1 in 3 women, that is about 736 million women worldwide, experience sexual and physical violence throughout their lifetimes. And this is an expression of male and other forms of power over women and girls. It is a poignant moment because this figure has remained relatively unchanged in the last 10 years. And as we march into the 25th century or 21st century with such arrogance and such pompousness, I find this very, very sad and pathetic. This is a very poignant moment because I'm pretty sure that most of us who are present at this launch have experienced sexual harassment and abuse in one way or another. Be it the look that undresses you, or the gestures, language, images that are sexually offensive and that hurt our sensibilities, or the sexually offensive touch or stalking, or relentlessly pursuing you for a relationship. This is a very poignant moment because a multitude of women, as we've seen, face the gravest forms of sexual, physical, economic, emotional violence that has broken their bodies, their spirits, their emotions, their being, every form of survival and economic sustenance. And this happens amid stigma, this whole culture of stigma, victim blaming, re-traumatizing victims by families, by communities, by the state, by our legal system, which is part of the state, at the work site, and the silencing that erases us. And may I say that this silencing or part of this erasing really starts with that swirl of emotions that women face when they are violated, trying to digest what exactly is happening to them, particularly when the aggressor is a parent, a father, a trusted neighbor or a friend, a male relative, a religious figure who we are really schooled to trust and confide in as mentors, as protectors, as spiritual guides, as selfless stewards. We women are numbed, we are ashamed, we feel guilty, we feel defiled because our sexual and our bodily integrity has been compromised. We are confused. We are often conflicted, and oftentimes we wonder whether this aggressor, the so called authority figure, has behaved so because we just might have triggered that behavior. Self blame is what most survivors go through. We women fear the aggressor. We fear what he will do with that private knowledge. We fear what he will do to continuously control us and abuse us. We fear sinning and its implications. We fear what will happen when that knowledge becomes public. But we're also angry. Quite often, we are angry with ourselves for not being able to resist. Very often, we are angry with the aggressor because most often it's business as usual for them. They get off scot-free. But friends, I do want to say this is not a gloom and doom scenario. It is a moment of celebration where our sisters and multitudes of women have dared to speak out, own, reclaim their lives, and I dare say, build back better, whatever it takes. And so here's the message that I'm going to read, a message of hope, a message which captures struggle and pain, but also courage, daring, agency, and the fight to build back better. Stand by me. We are a small group of women fighting for justice as survivors of violence. Calling out the abuser has not been easy. This has caused us other traumatic experiences. Since we dared to speak up, we have seen many of our near and dear ones moving out of our lives and leaving us to fend for ourselves. The lack of financial independence and economic sustenance has been another major casualty of our struggle. We now face the challenge of rebuilding from scratch while also tackling other major battles. So we have taken matters into our hands, quite literally. We have taken up the needle and thread to own and claim our financial freedom, one stitch at a time. Though we have faced many challenges in our journey, we believe that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. With this as our motto, we have embarked on this small enterprise to become economically independent and fight our battles on our own terms. We do tailoring and embroidery. We stitch a range of products, including children's garments, kurtis, night dresses, patient gowns, bags, curtains, cushion covers, sari bags, table runners, and table mats. We are ready to experiment with new ideas and innovate and can customize to suit personal preferences. 100% of all proceeds go directly to support our daily expenses, including food, clothing, health needs, and shelter. Will you stand by us? Will you stand by us by sharing our stories with others? Will you stand by us by promoting our products? Will you stand by us by buying our products? And I will say, having already brought their products, that they are of very good quality. Will you stand by us by supporting the survivors in your lives? Friends, as our sisters pick up the needle and thread to weave the snapped threads of their lives, stitch by stitch, into fine garments, let us remind ourselves that they have plumbed into the depths of their beings to discover the gold that resides within them and have taken decisive action to upgrade their education, to build on their flair for embroidery and tailoring, including further innovations. And this is not easy given the trauma they face in the face of grave sexual violence. This indeed is a mode of economic sustenance, but it's much more. It is a means to heal, to recover, to recuperate the self-identity, self-worth, self-esteem. It is a means to connect, social connectivity, connectivity with other human beings, human relations. But this cannot be done on one's own. We need an enabling environment. We need the support of the collectivity so that our sisters and each one of us stands tall and says, I am light, I am strength, I am resolution, I am enough, and I will contribute to social change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jean, for that powerful message from the survivors and from you. And thank you for pointing out that this is creative labor, which we're really thankful to the survivors that they are willing to share something so intimate as creative work with us. And I think this is a great segue to see some of the products, some of the things that they make, and some of the things that you can buy. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can see this. Can you see this screen? Yeah? Okay, awesome. Right, so I'm going to take you through some of the things that they have been making. And before we begin, the first thing I want to point out is that 100% of all proceeds are in this from Stand By Me go directly to the survivors. I know many of us are here as supporters, so to be clear, we're not partaking in any of the economic benefits at all. Everything is going directly to the survivors. There are no middlemen. Every product that Stand By Me makes is fully customizable. Now this, for those of you who buy things online, know how rare this is. When you go to a product website, you get 3 options: medium, small, medium, large. If you're very lucky, you'll get an XL, okay? But there are fixed sizes. Why? Because they're not handmade. They are machine made. There are standard sizes, okay? And if you want something altered or tailored, it's on you. And when you have to do that, if you have a website that gives you customized clothing, you know the premiums they charge. You know how extraordinarily expensive that sort of service is. Stand By Me is offering fully customizable tailoring in terms of colors, in terms of sizing, which is really, really exceptional and key to remember. So if you have, if you see something that you like and you say, hey, but I like this bag with a red strap, reach out to them. They'll be able to make it happen, you know. The other thing to remember is that the products Stand By Me uses, they're high quality materials. They use high quality cotton. So when you see a bag, see, we're selling online, so we understand that people won't be able to touch and feel what the quality is, but they're not buying cheap polyester, low quality material. This is high quality cotton with high thread count and bags and clothes that will last you. And they're eco-friendly also, because when they start to disintegrate, they disintegrate into cotton, okay, nothing else. Stand By Me, by virtue of being fully customizable, is size inclusive. Again, so rare in India, okay? Or in fact, globally. Where do you get sizes that are not S, M, L, and if you're lucky, XL? Any size. You've got a large pot belly that you want to account for in your clothing? Great, we love it. Let us know. Give us your sizing. we're happy to make it happen. You know, you want something that like super baggy on top and tight at the bottom. You do you. We'll make it happen. Just share the sizing with us. We're happy to make it happen. The other thing is that bulk orders are welcome. So if you have a conference that's coming up, and if you have like you want to order like 100 bags with your logo on it, with your conference logo on it, perfect. Stand By Me is a great place to reach out and make that happen. They also do bulk orders for all their products. So just get in touch, and then they'll be able to give you. We'll share all the details of how to get in touch with them. I'm putting it in the chat. If you have any trouble accessing any of the links, just let me know. They ship reliably. They use just Indian Post to ship. It reaches all our customers safely and securely, so you have nothing to worry about. Also, because festival season is coming up. When is it not festival season in India? My God. Perfect for gifts. Go for it. Buy gifts for everyone from Stand By Me, where you'll be making so many people happy and putting food on the table for so many people. So yeah. So just wanted to take you through that before I show you some of the products. This is the logo bag. I think this is the bag that maybe Dhanya was talking about. Yeah. See, perfect for feeding animals and also for other things. But this is also fully customizable. I just want to point out, you can put your logo here. Instead, you can have zip, no zip, more pockets. Yeah, just, anything is possible. The sky is the limit. See, like for instance, the strap colors are different. The embroidery thread is different. So yes. The fabric colors, there are also options here, okay? This is part of a series called Velathu Vadatha Pookal, which, for those of you who don't speak Malayalam, translates to flowers that don't wilt in the sun. So there's a whole range with different sorts of embroidery on them. Can you see how lovely and minute the designs are? So there are some beautiful designs in the Velathu Vadatha Pookal series. So just reach out and say which one you like. You can check out the catalog on WhatsApp. Beautiful stuff. Okay. So yeah, fully customizable again. Name your favorite flower and they'll make it happen. There's also home decor. Do you have a sofa? Do you want a cushion? Do you want a cushion for your cat? Here you go. There's some beautiful cushion covers with like lace work and everything. Some Christmas colors are also making an appearance. Okay, so there's some reds and browns and greens. There's some Santa Claus, amazing. Yeah, so here are some of the samples of the kind of things that you get. You get table runners. Look at that. Look at that beautiful thing. More Christmas themed table runners also available. More lace work. All sorts of embroidery. I think there's a little pocket on the table runner. Okay, wow, there you go. So this is stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else. And like I said, none of this is factory made. So yeah, you can customize all of these things. Stand By Me is also doing another really important thing, is bringing the nightie back. I mean, not that it ever went away, but there's so much shaming around the nightie and people who wear nighties. No, it's like used to such a derogatory thing. And we kind of want to change all that. It's used on subtle nightie wearing women. What? Let's bring it back. Look at this amazing thing. Look how comfortable it is and look how beautifully it's stitched. Pure cotton. So there are beautiful options. Again, gifting options are great. With embroidery of all sorts. You can also get different lengths, I think. Frock nightie, long nighties, any length you want. You want a mini skirt nightie, go for it. Just tell them what length you want. So yeah, some beautiful stuff here. All handmade. These are just options. There are more, like I said. They also do kaftans. Again, another really comfortable option. Beautiful stuff in some kaftan designs. All cotton. They also do kids wear. This is part of a collection called Noor, for the tiny rebels in your life. So for all the rebels that you're raising, please go and get some children's wear from Stand By Me. Some little frocks. There you go. More options. Oh, they also do stuff like sari covers. So if you're a sari wearer, get some of these bags so you can hang them safely in your closet, keep them safe. So yeah, these are just a snapshot of some of their bestsellers. But check out their design catalog, their Instagram, their Facebook, their WhatsApp channel. Everything will be in the chat. But yeah. So yes, that was some of the designs. Pockets on nighties. Yes, pockets on the pockets and on anything. Yeah, literally anything. Huh? Dresses with pockets. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, great. So I can see a lot of excitement in the chat. We're so happy to see this, especially from people who bought from Stand By Me before. But yeah, that we're moving towards the end of the session, and I'm feeling kind of like regretful about it already. But I want to invite Dr. Kochirani to give a vote of thanks for today's speakers. Dr. Kochirani Ibrahim is a feminist theologian who engages with concerns related to gender, sexuality, ecology, and spirituality in the academia and the grassroots. She's among the founding members of the Stand By Me collective. Dr. Kochirani, take it away.
Thank you, Chithra. Good evening, friends. It has been really wonderful. I'm just bubbling with joy, with real happiness from my heart. Today is a very significant day for me. It is significant because it affirms my belief that any move one takes in a genuine commitment for the rights and the well-being of the distressed would have a ripple effect. 2 years ago, that was in October 2022, a few of us came together to share our concerns regarding the well-being of the survivors we were accompanying. We were disturbed by the alienation that they experienced from those around them because they dared to take a stand against abuse. We wanted to see them physically and mentally engaged and well, and standing on their feet as they continue their struggle for justice. Then we spoke about forming a supportive collective that would stand by the survivors, and that was the birthing moment of Stand By Me. As all of you would agree, and it has been repeated by all our speakers, that in a society like ours, that is so deeply marked by patriarchy, we need a supportive circle that would enable the survivors of gender-based violence, especially those who are afflicted by sexual assault, to speak up and seek justice. All our speakers have elaborated, as we said. Over the last 2 years, we have seen the supporters of Stand By Me growing from the original 5 to 6 to 8 to 9 to 12 and more. And slowly, the circle is getting widened as more committed women and men join the collective. And these members connect us to further to others who share a similar vision with passion and commitment, and through them to people who would buy their products and promote the cause. Consequently, we have reached this day for the official launch of Stand By Me. And we are immensely grateful to everyone who has made this a memorable event, marking the growth process of Stand By Me. First and foremost, I wish to express a deep gratitude to Parvathy Thiruvothu. Parvathy, I'm not calling you ma'am because you're a person so very dear to me personally, even though we have not met, for the very stand that you have taken in life. So I think calling you ma'am will create a distance for all these people who are here. I know you've been here in spite of many engagements that grab your time. You have made time to be with us to inaugurate this online launch. So we want to thank you for being here, for your presence and for your words, which have been very encouraging, energizing, challenging us to take take a stand further. I want to thank you for being an icon of strength and support to many survivors, and for voicing with clarity the many issues that need to be addressed in a social context like that of India. Dhanya Rajendran, as she herself has said and Chithira has mentioned, is a strong supporter of Stand By Me. Thank you, Dhanya, for inviting us to engage with the survivors on a daily basis, to connect with them and to promote their work so that their lives become sustainable. I was also very touched by that example that you shared. Actually, I think the bags that you take for public visibility is not these present ones that are being shown, because these present bags which Chithira has shown here, they are more for putting the files and, yes. Our Stand By Me, our group has made shopping bags, very many, they're, designed, customized bags of many shapes and forms. So more than anything, I want to thank you for being an ardent supporter and a member of Stand By Me Collective. Astrid Lobo Gajiwala, I think she is not here right now. She has another commitment at 7 p.m. She's also a long-time supporter of the survivors of gender-based violence. She has spoken on the very sensitive and often misinterpreted question of consent. Thank you, Astrid, for drawing our attention to the intricacies of the experiences of the survivors of sexual violence. Dr. Jean Vicuna, as Chithira already introduced, has worked in very many capacities for promoting gender equality and women's rights in the civil society through her engagements with the UN and otherwise. She has given us a message on behalf of the survivors, besides sharing her personal convictions about why we need a collective like Stand By Me. And I'm really happy and proud, Jean, to have you also as a staunch supporter of the SBM collective. She's returned to India only a couple of months back, and she's already been with us. Thank you. I want to say a big thank you to Mr. Sanit Joseph, who has given us excellent technical assistance. All the work quietly behind the scene. Thank you, Sanit. I also want to thank the designers who have assisted with the designing work and all who have shared information about this event. A heartfelt word of thanks to each and every one of you who has taken time to attend this program. Your presence speaks about your commitment to this cause. Thanks to each one of you. Today's event was realized through the unrelenting efforts of one person, none other than our dear Chithira. Chithira has introduced all of us. She has introduced herself very briefly, but I really want you to know how she's been a very, kind of tireless worker, getting everything organized for this event. Okay? For the very many invisible activities that has led to the successful realization of a program like this. That is coordinating with the speakers, planning meticulously the agenda, preparing the posters, etc., etc., etc. Thank you, Chithira, for being the motor for this event, and also for the different ways you have engaged to give visibility to SBM in the social media over the last many months. There is a saying attributed to Victor Hugo which says, nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. I believe Stand By Me is such an idea whose time has come. So the question is, how do you want to take this forward? Chithira has already showcased the products she has shared with us. So I just want to repeat so that hearing we are again, that, all this gets more endorsed in our minds. You can follow us on social media as SBM is Stand By Me is on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. You can support Stand By Me by passing the word around, getting orders. I think you should also try giving an order, those who have not ordered, to know for firsthand the quality of Stand By Me product. Surely they are not professionals, but the quality equals that of professionals. As Chithira said, Stand By Me takes bulk orders. So if you know somebody who would like to order things for, in bulk for conferences, anything, everything is possible. Surely there are many who resonate with the cause of supporting survivors. And so we hope to have more people joining us or becoming part of the extended family of Stand By Me. Together we can grow as Stand By Me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Kuchrani, and thank you everybody who joined today and interacted via the chat, all our audience, all of our speakers. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again, meeting you again, messaging with you again. But yeah, have a good evening. Order something. I'm going to keep saying this, but order something today if you can. Try it out. Give us your feedback. We're happy to keep working on your suggestions. So please feel free to give us your feedback. We're looking forward to it. But yeah, thank you so much. Have a great evening all. And good night.
Thank you, Chithira.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.